I'm just checking everything's in German right now. Islam, Islam. Peace Hotep. This is what is it? Fifth today? Fourth or fifth? Fifth?
Fourth, I think. No, the
Fourth,
fifth.
yeah. June
Fourth.
4th.
Okay.
Tuesday, June 4th. Canaanland Moors class. Welcome. We're gonna just start up with the regulars. Um, I'm gonna read this little note that we got from Brother Jabbar Gaines Ill. Islam GS. The few Moors holding a negative view on the progressive and ever increasing demonstration that is gaining popularity set for October 20th, 2013. Perhaps would have been the same vipers striking the heels of our prophet as he went forward to the state of Illinois to establish our charter. Many Moors have knowledge but lack wisdom. If they do, they will see how this event will lead to the greater of the masses proclaiming their nationality. We will not allow technicalities to settle as barriers from our people being reunited to the truth of their identity. We must all contribute to making this the most massive event of Moorish American activity to ever have taken place since the physical departure of our prophet. As the masses return to the fold of their government, then we can apply the higher degrees of civics. Wisdom is the order of the day. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Grand Governor Jabbar Gaines Ill. And then we're going to go again to let everybody know on the 20th of October 2013, right, is the National Census and Registration Drive for Moorish Americans, right? Now again, when we exercise, right, it's really about what active Moors are doing. It has nothing to do with passive Moors, nothing to do with, you know, Moors who are dirty, nothing to do with Moors who aren't active. Right? Noble Drew Ali himself said all Moors are active, not passive. So we have an obligation to make sure that we exercise activity. And, activity deals with movement. And the Moorish Divine and National Movement demands that we're active. So remember October 20th, right? Try to make yourself available, right? Because, regardless of whether there's, 50 Moors there or 8 million Moors there, this is going to be something, this is going to be a historical event, right? It's the National Mall in Washington, D.C., right? It's a centennial commemoration, 100 years of Moorish science, 1913 to 2013. The centennial director is L. Alston Bay. Daytime phone number 202-696-0088 and evening number 202-725-2686. Also, Brother M or M. Kirkland Bay, I'm not sure, or Kirkland L. I'm not sure if it's a brother or sister. 301-852-4597. Divine Minister Kenyu Umar Bey, 312-888-5486. Divine Minister Jabbar Gaines Ill, 260-241-4080. And B. Graham Bey, 410-935-9846. Quote the Prophet, one day you are going to look into the streets and they're going to be filled with men with turbans and fezzes, and the highways are going to be blocked. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So keep in mind that the Moors are getting some work done, right? Next on the list, we wanted to drop this one by Dare Gregorian, April 29, 2011. Superman renounces U.S. citizenship. right? Great Caesar's ghost, the world's most famous champion of truth, justice, and the American way, says he intends to renounce his U.S. citizenship. Superman makes the shocking pronouncement in this week's Action Comics number 900. Pretty good number to make that proclamation.
Yep.
Truth, justice, and the bold American way isn't enough anymore, the Man of Steel tells the president's national security advisor. I intend to speak before the United Nations tomorrow and inform them that I am renouncing my U.S. citizenship. And no, he's not giving up his citizenship because of healthcare reform or high taxes. He made the declaration after his protection of protesters in Iran becomes an international incident. I'm tired of having my actions construed as instruments of U.S. policy, he says, explaining that he wants to help wherever and whenever he's needed. I've been thinking too small. I realize that now. In a statement to the Post, DC Comic co-publishers Jim Lee and Dan Didio said that despite the global outlook, the character is and always will be a red-blooded American at heart. Islam war. Superman is a visitor from a distant planet who has long embraced American values. As a character and an icon, he embodies the best of the American way. Oh, Moor, that's not working.
What?
Where you heading to?
It's water.
Okay. Car washroom's out of service. In a short story in Action Comics 900, Superman announces his intentions to put a global focus on his never-ending battle, but he remains, as always, committed to his adopted home and his roots as a Kansas farm boy from Smallville. The story isn't expected to have any repercussions in the Superman line of comics. It is unclear whether he actually follows through with the pronouncement, but whether he actually has any citizenship to renounce may be a job for Donald Trump's crack investigation team. In his origin in the comics, he is sent to Earth as a baby to escape the demise of his whole planet Krypton, and is found by a Kansas couple who raise him as their own son. Since he wasn't technically born in the United States, and since his adoptive parents, the Kents, didn't legally adopt him, he'd likely be considered an illegal alien. The citizenship story has been heavily criticized online by some readers who take it as the character turning his back on the U.S. USTownhall.com called the tale troubling and distressing. This is a cartoon they're talking about, right?
I know.
This is a cartoon they're talking about.
It's troubling and distressing.
It's troubling and distressing
Oh my God.
that Superman is renouncing his U.S. citizenship.
Who is this in a cartoon?
Yeah,
Okay.
comic strip,
Huh.
right? Action Comics. In a move that was politically motivated, Steve Rogers briefly gave up his alter ego as Captain America in the 1970s out of frustration with government corruption. He later returned to his identity as the Star-Spangled Avenger to fight for the American dream, not the American government.
Wow.
Right? So even Steve Rogers gave up that U.S. 14th Amendment position.
And Superman's an L.
And Superman's an L too.
Oh, is that what it says here?
No, like
Superman's
that's
name
the
is,
story. Yeah.
Something L. What's it?
Kal El.
Kal El.
Yeah, right?
So
So no wonder he's giving up the U.S. citizen because, he has nationality. So why is he even going to play around with a de facto nationality, if you will,
gets his
right? Or
powers from the
citizenship.
sun,
You know what I
everything.
mean? Right? Now, we were, from last week, we were going to do, the Canaanland Moors expose, but then after the meeting, give thanks to Brother Omar Bey, right? All these dirty Moors now, all the dirty Moors, we're just going to deal with them like that. Right? All the dirty Moors, but we gotta put some stuff on the record still just so people have an idea what's going on. Right? We want to give high honors to Nana Olokun. Right? Nana Olokun is Orisha in the Yoruba mystic system of quote-unquote Africa, right? Now, there was a sister that we know, Sister Kentucky, that used to invoke Nana Olokun, right?
You told me the story.
Yeah,
We
and
went
you know,
to
we used to
Went
go,
to the
yeah,
lake,
we used to
the
go down to the
lake,
lake, and you know what I mean, give offerings and all that type of stuff, right? Um, Now the reason why we're bringing up Nana Olokun is because Nana Olokun was the one that prophesies, we have to get ourselves ready because we're stuff's coming, right? Which is why, when dirty Moors do what they do, we just and keep it moving because we already got the insight from Nana Olokun, right? So pre Nana Olokun was this Marcus Garvey Center issue. So we wanted to touch on that so people could have an idea of what was really going on and how, like, you remember when we talked yesterday, we were talking about Kavit Mtor and then the prophet saying that he knows where the Moors are and the ranks or whatever. So a majority of people who are, for lack of a better term, activists in their community, community activists, etc., or whatever, right? Nobody really has his eye on them if they're sincere in what they're doing, right? This is an article by, and we're just gonna use keep in mind of the numbers, right? Keep in mind of the numbers for, in favor of, and against the nation, like as we go through this article, so we can, yeah, the numbers that come up, right?
Okay.
Just so we already know numerology and all that, right? So this is the article is called "City to Review Center's 7-cent lease after complaint." Right.
This is the
This is the Marcus Garvey Center.
7
right?
cent.
7-cent lease. Yeah, 7-cent lease. Right. So that's just so people know, right? Because initially what we called this class was "Leave it up to dirty Moors to destroy blessings."
This was the name of
This was this was going to be the name of it, but we're going right, right. But wanted to put this on the record so people understand, that when Grand Sheikh Dawid Ali El in Chicago, Grand Sheikh, cause I'm gonna call him Grand Sheikh because he's the first one to put me on to something for real, right? Richard Neal Bey, Grand Sheikh Kenny Umar Bey, and all the Moors in Mecca, when they invited us to come out there, and they ran us through the Adab chamber on a weekend, right? And they gave us stacks of stuff like this, gave us junk drives with all the paperwork that we need with regard to the Moorish movement, gave us charter, gave us, everybody got their Circle 7. Yeah, 2007, right? There was something that they saw, right? They weren't just doing that just because they were Moors and we're finding out that we're Moors, and there was something so spiritual going on, right? That we didn't even know what was going on. Like now we're catching up to what was going on in 07 when we came into the movement, right? Yeah. So, and again, all this is tied in with Nana Olokun, because Nana Olokun is the water Orisha, or one of the water Orishas, right? Nana Olokun represents male and female, right? Nana Olokun represents male and female, right? And then when we look at the cover of the 101s, right? Prophet's coming out of the water, right? And he's a male holding a female with one foot in the water, right? Showing the connection of male and female coming out of the water, which represents Nana Olokun. This is where I'm going with it, right? I don't know if any literature says that or whatever, but based on the symbolic representation, right, is there. That Nobuju Ali is a representative of those ancient Yoruba traditions, right? From Shango all the way through
As
to
well,
all
then They
the
talk about Joshua
Yahshua.
being born or something in the age
Right,
of
Pisces, right, right,
Mm.
which
Water.
goes back
Which
to the
is
water
water,
again,
yeah.
right?
Which
So
is justice.
Olokun again,
Mm.
right? So city to review center's 7-cent lease after complaint. City of Toronto is reviewing the leasing terms of a building it rents to a community group for 7 cents a year following a complaint from, guess who?
What, some European group?
Councillor Rob Ford,
Wow.
that the facility is not being used for its intended purpose. City of Toronto is reviewing, Rob Ford, for everybody who doesn't know or whatever, that's our mayor who's
Smoking
in the
crack
news
now.
with the crack right now, right? So everybody knows, right? The crackhead mayor, right? The City of Toronto is reviewing the leasing terms of a building it rents to a community group for 7 cents a year following a complaint from Councillor Rob Ford that the facility is not being used for its intended purpose. Mr. Ford said the Marcus Garvey Community Center for Leadership and Enterprise, located in the Weston Road and Shepherd Avenue area, is apparently not being used as a skills training center and has been subleased on select weekends to promoters who are using the center as a nightclub. According to the terms of the lease obtained by Mr. Ford, the city gave the Marcus Garvey Center a 15-year lease for $1 beginning in 2002. Right? The building encompasses 22,000 square feet. 22,000 square feet. And is located at 160 Rivalda Road. Mr. Ford, who said he was tipped off by a Rivalda Road businessman who has personally witnessed parties at the center, said the Marcus Garvey Center pays no property taxes or water bills and that the city provides landscaping services. Right? The councillor has copies of several internet postings advertising dance parties at 160 Rivalda Road. One online poster advertised a July 28th reggae event called The Party. The event was scheduled for the Marcus Garvey Center. Brad Ross, a spokesman for the City of Toronto, said city staff, including the legal department, are looking at the lease agreement now to determine precisely what they can and cannot do. Mr. Ross said there may be provisions where they, Marcus Garvey Board, can permit the center to another group as part of fundraising effort for the center itself, but these are still allegations that we have to verify. Mr. Ross noted that the Marcus Garvey Center was established to provide training and those sorts of things for youth at risk. They do not get any direct funding from the city other than the use of the facility itself. But at this stage, Mr. Ross said there's no evidence to indicate the center has provided any training to youths. We, the city, need to determine through the lease agreement what obligations they have to report back to us in terms of auditing financial statements, Mr. Ross says. That work is being undertaken now as we speak. Mr. Ford said he obtained a copy of the lease after an access to information request and said it explicitly states that the facility shall be used only as a community and training center. It's not supposed to be a party place, said Mr. Ford, noting that when he went to personally inspect the premises, nobody was in the building. Several members of the city's board did not return phone calls over the last week. A Post reporter who visited the facility was greeted by a man identifying himself as Mr. Chapman, who said he is the treasurer for the center. He denied the facility has ever been used as a nightclub and said he has no idea why such allegations would surface. Another man who said he was the center's custodian, Cyril Morgan, said he has never witnessed the building being used as a nightclub. Mr. Chapman said the facility is currently being renovated and will fulfill its mandate as a training center when renovations are complete. Mr. Ford said the way in which the center is managed is a complete embarrassment for the city. The city should know who they are renting their buildings out to, and they should be following up. For people to say they don't know what's going on, I just don't believe it. This is just another example of how badly the city is managed. Right? This is all part of his leading up to being mayor, don't forget. Right? You rent out a building. Don't you at least check up on your tenants every 6 months? Mr. Ford said if it is shown the center is simply being used as a party venue, The lease should be terminated immediately and the building sold. A 22,000 square foot building at Shepherd and Weston. What are we looking at? $2 million at least if they sell it, which they did because they lost the lease. Because it turned out that they were doing parties there because leave it up to dirty Moors to destroy the blessings.
Really?
Right? Where we fit into this now is that during this time, 2002 to 2004, let's say 2004 to about 2006, right? Early 2007, right? There was, want to say, give honors to Philip Prescott, right? That was one of our inside people, and also Dr. Charmaine Marine, who R.I.P. because
she was the one who
she's the one. She's the one that they killed basically, right? So how we come into play now is that Dr. Charmaine Marine, when we approached her about accessing the space, she said, well, nobody's not doing anything with this anyways. And since you guys are young or whatever, here's the key, whatever. Don't. So we had a key to 22,000 square feet building. So we're in this building, and we're going around the building, checking the facility, make sure usable or whatever. We go to this one part, and there's just stuff in there, just stuff. Just stuff that shouldn't be in a leadership and training building, right? People's stuff, metal, old bench, chair, cupboards, just right. So people are using it as their own self-storage space or whatever. Right. So we earned the name Dash It Crew. Right?
Sorry, so you said between 2004 and 2001?
Yeah, 2006.
You, Philip and this lady, you say...
They gave us access to the space.
Okay, and then at one point you went through there?
Right, and so in the beginning, when we went there, we're cleaning up the space.
I see, to make it usable for yourself.
To make it usable for ourselves.
You found this one
we just find stuff there. Right. Just stuff, right? And it was 2 level. Right. It was upstairs or downstairs. Okay. Right? So, we got the name Dash It Crew. Because people were complaining to Dr. Marine that stuff's missing. I had a whatever back there. Where's my stuff? Well, we were of the mentality. Well, if all this stuff you go like this on something, then obviously nobody's not using this. Dash it. Right? So we were just dashing stuff, right? So. That kind of we had to kind of slow down because that was kind of drawing attention because we were supposed to have the key secretly, right? It wasn't supposed to be out and open that we have the key because she already knew about all these agents that were up in there trying to take over the building to make it whatever they want to make it so they can line their pockets and not do running it as a party spot.
And then they're using a storage spot. Whatever you came in,
whatever,
she gave you the back door to sort of help you
to kind of.
And then what happened is obviously somewhere in there, the powers that be came in and offed her, in a sense.
Right, pretty much.
Got caught, and then the European came in and sold it out.
Right, sold it out. Right? So now, when we were there, remember in the article they're saying, nothing's going on here. Right? There should be things going on here. Right? In that building we had Alim Bey, Autumn Ashanti, and Bettina Shanti. David Farrell, Bobby Hemmett, Rudra, Lord Rudra, this metaphysical occult brother, Obashango L, right, and couple other lectures, right, couple other lectures we had there, right. This is over like a year period, every month, having something, right. Came down to the end now, right? This is before Dr. Marine got sick, right? She was off. So now, our link now isn't there now. So now these people now, these agents now, these dirty Moors
are on you.
their position is, okay, well, let's smoke these young guys out.
Yeah, of course.
So it'll be situations where, you know, like we'll go there to have an event or whatever, you know, we have an event, you know, because we used to also do the thing of, you know, well, you know, if you're a community group, you know, we have access to the space, you know, use the space, right? Because that's what it's there for, you know what I mean? Especially if you're doing youth-oriented stuff. So then one time we went there and, you know, door's locked. You know, go to the back door, door's locked. And we're looking inside and we're seeing people passing by the door, right? Us banging on the door, people just stiff neck, just passing, right? So we're like, okay, you know, it's going down right now. You know what I mean? So they call this big meeting or whatever. You know what I mean? Had Dr. Marine come up there in her wheelchair from wherever she lived. You know what I mean? Just had a stroke or whatever, wheeling herself into this meeting for them to be yelling at her, right? Like basically just
sticking it
to this lady about why she gave us keys and all this type of stuff, right? You know, and at this time she was like on the low level of the like she was pretty much on her way out, pretty much. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, that pushed her over the edge, right? That pushed her over the edge, right? So these guys did whatever they did, lost the building. You know what I mean? Because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do with it. And, you know, it's to be brought up because all those people who were on the board that were dirty, all of them claimed to be Garveyites, wearing red, black, green jackets and patches and, you know what I mean? When meetings come, you know, Marcus Garvey and, you know, Garvey and all that type of stuff when, you know, one of the head guys, Winston Clark, will put his name out there so people know who he is. He has a pharmacy up on Keel, right? Selling drugs to the community. There's a pharmacy.
What do you mean, like
a pharmacy, like Shoppers Drug Mart pharmacy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? But he's Garveyite.
So these are probably just sort of your European Mason-based people.
Yeah, exactly.
Covered
It's
up.
interesting that you say that these were older Moors.
Right,
Moors.
exactly.
It's interesting that you say that because when I was living in Montreal, there was called WIPCA. It was called WIPCA, an organization, West Island Black Community Association, and the youth were always doing like fundraisers and stuff. We wanted to raise some money to go to New York and so on and so forth. And I remember we did like a couple of dances, a fashion show and thing. We raised money, and then when we were ready to go, no money was there. And we're like, "Where's the money? Where did the money go?" The elders take out the money, man. Teeth out the money.
Right. That's
like how could they do that to the youth? You know what I mean?
Right. You know, with and you know, it just shows what we're up against. You know what I mean? Shows what we have to deal with. You know, the obligation that we have to you know, because this is a movement guided by Allah. Right? And this is why I brought back, you know, this story, so people could see that, you know, Noble Drew Ali had his hand in this before we were even in this. Because that was the Marcus Garvey Center, who's the forerunner of the Prophet. Right? And imagine we got our Moorish information and had that 22,000 square foot building. You know what would be going on right now if we had that, right? But just like the place where we're at now, that was, you know, beyond our means, you know what I mean? We weren't there yet, you know what I'm saying? But just to put it out there, right? So today, what we're gonna go into a little bit is just some information that we found online with regard to our people, Moors, and our impact in the world, specifically the eastern side of the planet, right? So we're gonna run through some stuff, and then Brother Bay is gonna give us an update of the Moors in Germany.
Okay.
Right? Right? Because we got some,
people,
right? We got some, right? So forget all these. We're gonna leave those guys in the back, and we're gonna keep it moving, right? So for all those people who, you know, they find any reason why they're not Moors, right? You can look up synonyms for African.
Mm-hmm.
Synonyms for African: Negro, Negroid, Black, Moor. Terms for specific people include Bantu, Zulu, Swazi, Hutu, Tutsi, Ubangi, Watusi, Dinka, Mandingo, Matabele, Khoikhoi, Hottentot, San, Bushman, Pygmy, Afrikaner, Boer, Yoruba, Igbo, Hosa, Ashanti, Masai, Kikuyu, Somalia, Ethiopian, Egyptian, Nilotic, Nubian, Hamite, Berber, Bodin, Arab, Moor. So all those words are synonymous with African. Right? Variants of the term Moor have been used by Europeans since ancient times as a general description for indigenous Africans. Variations of the term Moor have been used by Europeans, right? So it's been used by Europeans. It wasn't invented by them.
Used by them.
It was used by them. So that means it was pre-European. Moor is a pre-European term, right? The origin of the English term Moor is the Greek word mavro, which literally means black, blackened, or charred, and has long been used to describe black or very dark things such as Mavri Thalassa, which refers to the Black Sea, or Mavri Spila, which means black cave. Ancient Greeks used the term to describe the complexion of Africans, and even today some Greeks use Mavro to refer to Africans, although in a pejorative manner. One need not be a linguist to see the word's evolution from Greek Mavro to the Latin word Mavers. Actually, Mavro is the ablative singular masculine Latin form. The English transliteration is Moros, and the plural form is Mori. Specifically used by ancient Romans, right? Used by, not created by them, right? Used by ancient Romans in reference to black Africans. Writers in both Greek and Latin specifically used the term as a racial identity. In the Epitome de Caesaribus, 390s AD, we learn that Aemilianus was a Moor by race. Procopius of Caesarea, a Byzantine scholar who wrote in Greek, said in his history of the wars, beyond that there are men, not black-skinned like the Moors.
Sorry, the last part, what are you saying there? That
A Byzantine scholar who wrote in Greek said in his history of the wars, beyond that there are men, not black-skinned like the Moors. Right? So I put that in to say that black skin identifies the Moors.
okay.
Black skin is not, when they say, we're black people.
Right.
Right?
Oh, I see.
You're talking about Moors.
I see what you're saying.
When you say black people or dark-skinned people, or
the way that we're using the word the black as an adjective in a sense,
right, to describe the Moors, not to describe people,
but it really
or
identifies the man.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Which is a Moor.
Which is a Moor.
Right.
Right.
Not black man.
Right. Black man, which is how we are.
We are taking it. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Man is replaced. Man is the replacement of Moor.
Right. Right.
So they would say black Moor.
Right. Right.
Dark Moor.
Right.
Swanee Moor. Tawny Moor.
Almost in a sense,
right?
not to make it derogatory.
Right.
In that sense.
Right.
Though,
right.
Okay.
Right. So then we go to just quickly.
Or like.
Go ahead, Moor.
Shout out to Brother Asir. Like Brother Asir says, man means Moorish American national.
Right.
So
Moorish American national. Right.
Okay.
Black man. Right. Black Moorish American national, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Right. complete sense.
Shout out to
Right.
Asir.
Shout out to Brother Asir, right? Golden Age of the Moor. You already know. You should have it in your library already. If you don't, go get it. Right? Ivan van Sertima. Right? And we're going to go to Bronson and Rashidi's page. A striking proof that the word Moor was, among the Germans at this time, exactly equivalent to Negro is not only its use as applied to the curly-haired, thick-lipped Aaron in Titus Andronicus, but also the constant interchange of the two words as applied to the equally unmistakable Negro Eleazar in Lust Dominion. Right? So the two words, Negro and Moor, applied equally. So when we hear people talk about Negro and black and all the misnomers, really they should be saying Moor, because all those words are synonymous with Moor.
But in a sense, aren't we sort of saying though that in the end of it all, Negro is a part of their
Denationalism.
yeah
now.
I see.
Now.
Mm.
But before, they were talking about Moors, ultimately, when they said Negro. They weren't talking about Negroes. They were really talking about Moors.
No, I can understand that.
You know
I
what
just
I mean?
wonder, to me, it's sort of, I get the impression though, because when you listen to some of the stuff about the genealogy of this stuff, that Negro really meant troglodyte,
Yes, sir.
troglodyte nigger, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
to be identifying us with that, to be identifying us with that,
No more.
to be identifying us with that, to me, I sort of feel a little bit strange about it.
Right. No, for sure. It's not about identifying with Negro or black or anything like that,
You're just
right?
saying that
But just saying that once we hear those terms,
right.
we have to remember that all those terms are synonymous with Moor.
More, yeah. You're saying
They don't have their own meaning that they
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
All those terms mean Moor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Next up, Barrick Gold, the world's biggest gold producer, announced today that they are in talks to sell the 74% stake in its African mining business to China National Gold Group Corporation, a state-owned enterprise in China, via a statement on its website. The deal is a great example of China's desire to push further into Africa to invest in commodities in order to support its rapidly expanding economy. The World Gold Council published a big update on global gold demand trends today, saying that in the second quarter, India and China continued to dominate global consumer demand, accounting for a combined 45% of total second quarter jewelry and bar and coin demand. The African company, African Barrick Gold, was taken public by parent company Barrick Gold in 2010 and trades on the London Stock Exchange, but Barrick Gold still owns a huge 73.9% stake in the stock of the African business. African Barrick Gold responded to the announcement with a statement of its own, saying that should China Gold acquire more than 30% of the voting interest in ABG, it would then be required to make an offer for the whole of ABG's issued ordinary share capital. If the deal goes through, African Gold, located in Tanzania, would be a major addition to China's African mining portfolio. Right? How is it that China is able to go into so-called Africa and take over? Right? Because China is part of Asia, which Africa is part of Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And Africa is not a continent. Africa is a private foreign jurisdiction created by Europeans that has nothing to do with the land. Because everybody knows that Asia is a north and a south, just like America is a north and a south. Period.
Africa harkens back to Africanus.
Africa comes back to, that's a European. So all these people fighting for Africa, go back to Africa, whatever with Africa, right? They're doing the denationalization like calling over here Canada and U.S. instead of calling it Morocco, right? And then when the foreigners come in, right, and take over, now people are mad.
What you're realizing is that Barrack already is the foreigner in there to begin with.
Yeah, exactly, right, because they're calling it Africa, which gives it their
Barrack
jurisdiction.
should have no jurisdiction in there to begin with. That should be a nationalized product to begin with, right?
Right.
And I think that was.
And how does it become their jurisdiction? Because the first, like Noble Drew Ali taught, the first divine name of Africa is Amexem.
Right.
And if they're not calling it Amexem,
you're saying it harkens back to the ownership by name.
Name denotes possession. If Africa comes from Africanus and Africanus is a European, then it's theirs. Yeah. You know, even though that might only be on paper. Right? That's rock. Answer that. That's me. It's your rock. Right? Okay. Right? Further proof that China owns Africa. Right? Further proof that they own it. They're not playing whatever. They own it. Right?
They're into commerce.
What is it? Okay. Right? They own it. There's been a lot written about ghost towns in China. Right? Now, state-owned China International Trust and Investment Corporation, trust, right?
Repeat that again.
State-owned China International Trust and Investment Corporation has built a town in Angola.
Okay.
Right? So a Chinese corporation has built a town in Angola.
Like an entire town.
Yeah, like a town. Right? Oh, hold on, we're not done yet. Right? And it's fairly empty. Just outside Angola's capital city of Luanda in Nova Cidade de Quilamba, a residential development of 750 eight-story apartment buildings, a dozen schools, and more than 100 retail units, reports BBC's Louis Redvers. The 3.5 billion development covers 12,000 acres and was built to house about 500,000 people and is one of the several satellite cities being constructed by Chinese firms around Angola. Angolan President Jose Eduardo dos Santos has touted the Quilamba social housing project as an example of his social policy, and he has brought international policymakers, including Chinese presidents, to the site. But the apartments in the complex cost somewhere between $120,000 and $200,000, according to online advertisements cited by BBC. Other anecdotal reports put the price of three-bedroom apartments at $250,000. Two-bedroom apartment. Three-bedroom apartment.
Well, if you're talking condominium, right?
Right.
Sense, right?
None of which helps the average Angolan, given the country's per capita GDP of $5,144 per year, according to the World Bank. And let's not forget, Angola serves $5,144. And let's not forget, Angola serves as China's largest source of oil in Africa. Some, like energy expert P.C. Dunham, speculate this could be in preparation for oil money that is expected once the country begins developing new oil discoveries. Right? Now remember, we're talking about a town in Angola, right? A ghost town. Nobody doesn't live there yet.
Yeah.
Let me just give a perspective. Where I live in Germany, in Nuremberg, there's 600,000 people living in that city. So And that's 500,000. They
That's
built.
half a million,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's half a
Yeah.
million people.
Right?
That's not a town. That's a city.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's a little
So,
town.
so
Yeah.
this is the town in Angola. This is how it looks right. Right? Now, if this is a town, right?
It's more like an industrial complex.
Right? Okay. Right, but not only that, guess who they have doing the maintenance? Not the Chinese,
No.
Angolan?
but the native Angolans. Right? The native Angolans working in a town that they can't even afford to go live
To
in.
live in. Chinese just
But the
came and
Chinese
built up.
came and just built it. Why? Because
And the town
China
empty.
is in Asia
Yeah.
and Africa is in Asia. So
what I
Chinese
think I
people
sense-
have jurisdiction.
Yeah, what I sense has happened is basically after this 100 years, which is what Noble Drew Ali alluded to, basically this Europeans' power structure has fallen apart. So basically we've come into our own now.
Mm.
But we, as Moors
Yep.
here, have not stepped up and become competent.
Right.
Mm.
But the rest of our cousins,
Mhm.
per se, right,
Mhm.
are competent,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And they're stepping into that role,
Right.
taking over shit.
Mm.
Sorry, excuse me,
Right.
taking over stuff,
Right.
right? And that's what's happening.
Mm.
And they can't be stopped because they've got the rights to it. We, in a sense, supersede those rights,
Right.
but
Mm.
we're not
But
competent.
they
Yeah.
even supersede those rights if they start repping
Mm.
a Maxim over there.
Just start repping the Mexican.
Yeah, I would say
Because
so.
they would trump Asia.
They would trump Asia. you
Yeah.
think?
Because that was if the true remember when
I see
remember
what you're
what,
saying.
where we read before, right? That Moor is a term to identify indigenous Africans.
And now, if you take away the African and you put Asia there, then in a sense they somehow, or not they somehow, they are then.
They're
Yeah.
then it
But wait a minute, the Angolan, who is termed the Angolan, who isn't really an
He's
Angolan,
not really Angolan.
He's really an Asian.
right.
So he, in a sense,
Has
could
the
then
claim.
step- He has the
Asiatic.
claim above them.
Asiatic.
Right.
Mm.
Because we're all Asiatics.
So in a sense, they're almost doing the exact same thing.
That U.S. everybody
Yeah.
else is doing. Going into land, making a
Taking a-
claim,
And then enslaving the people.
and
having
enslaving
them-
the people and having them,
Do the
you
work.
know, do the work. While they build up their 750.
And in a sense, while they then probably continue to, because they're only there
Yeah,
probably
they're
for
only
the
going
oil.
there for oil. Really, they're only going there for oil.
Right.
And What
You know what I mean?
what's crazy about that? This picture here is it's a ghost town, so nobody's there but the workers.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
watering the
what-
lawn.
Like
Yeah,
he's
you're
watering
watering
the
the
lawn.
lawn
No,
for-
well,
for-
you see what
for
you sense,
nobody.
no, but what you sense is happening is it's like knowing that something's coming.
Right.
So
Right.
so
Yeah, true.
it's like a party's happening.
Mm.
So we're gonna go over there and we're gonna start setting up tents.
Right. True.
Yeah.
And then when the rush comes, we've got our stake.
Right.
Right.
Right. So that's what's happening.
The oil rush. Yeah. Right. October 7, 2003. Africans launched Chinese civilization. And then remember, you know, we're going back to the whole, you know, it's synonymous. All these terms that are synonymous with Moor, but they only use the synonymous term, they never say Moor. So we'll rephrase, Moors launched Chinese civilization. Give it some perspective, right? By Saka Sesepeku, student of African and Asian Studies, Faculty of Humanities, University of West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. Whenever we hear the term Chinese, we often associate the word with short, slanted-eyed people who can fight kung fu. With the recent celebration of establishment of the People's Republic of China, I wish not only to congratulate them, but also to add some insight into their history. The original first native primitive inhabitants of China were black Moors, the Africans. I mess with no Africans, right? Were black Moors who arrived there about 100,000 years ago and dominated the region until a few thousand years ago, when the Mongol advance into the region began. These Moors who fled the Mongol onslaught can still be found in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands misnomered Negritos or small black men. The Agta of the Philippines, right, is one such example. Indeed, archaeology, forensic, and otherwise confirm that China's first two dynasties, the Xia and the Shang or Chang, were largely black Moors, with an Australoid called Madras Indian or Chamar in Trinidad, present in small percentages. These Moors would carry an art of fighting developed in the Horn of Africa into China, which today we call martial arts, Tai Chi, Kung Fu, and Taekwondo. Even the oracle of the I Ching came with a later African group, Moorish group, the Akkadians of Babylon. Around 500 BCE, a Moor living in India called Gautama would establish a religion called Buddhism, which would come to dominate Chinese thought. Anyone who is in doubt should consult Jeffrey Higgins' Anacalypsis, Analypsis. So Jeffrey Higgins' Anacalypsis, Albert Churchward's Origin and Development of Religions, Gerald Massey's Egypt, the Light of the World, Runoko Rashidi's African Presence in Early Asia, and J.A. Rogers' Sex and Race Volume 1. Many Africans survived the Mongol invasions with the 20th century only to be exterminated by Chairman Mao's program of cultural cleansing. Under this program, millions of Moors and Afro-Asians were killed from 1951 to 1956. Contribute we still did, giving the People's Republic of China its first chief minister in the name of Eugene Chen, a Trinidadian of George Street, Port of Spain, who is of a Moorish mother and a Chinese father. For further reading on this individual, one should consult J.A. Rogers' Greatest Men of Color, Volume 1. So next time the word China or Chinese is mentioned, remember that Moors played a pivotal role in launching what is called Chinese civilization, if such a thing exists. Boy, a big bag, boy. How you say it, boy? In honor of the little black people, the Saisiat tribe of Hishinu and Miola will perform a solemn rite this weekend to commemorate a race of people that they exterminated by Jules Quarterly. Drinking, singing, and dancing are expected to take place deep in the mountains of Mayaoli and Hishinu when the ritual of the little black people is performed by the Saisiat tribe once again. For the past 100 years or so, the Saisiat tribe has performed the songs and rites, the festival to bring good harvest, ward off bad luck, and keep alive the spirit of a race of people who are said to have preceded all others in Taiwan. In fact, the short black men, short Moorish men, we don't know, right? The short Moorish men, the festival celebrates. Chilling. In fact, the short black men the festival celebrates are one of the most ancient types of modern human beings on this planet, and their kin still survive in Asia today. They are said to be diminutive Africoids and are variously called pygmies, negritos, and Aita. They are found in the Philippines, northern Malaysia, Thailand, Sumatra, and in Indonesia and other places. Chinese historians call them black dwarfs in the Three Kingdoms period, AD 220 to AD 280, and they were still to be found in China during the Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1911. In Taiwan, they were called little black people, and apart from being diminutive, they were also said to be broad-nosed and dark-skinned with curly hair. After the little black people, and well before waves of Han migrations after 1600, came the Aboriginal tribes, who are part of the Austronesian race. They are thought to have come from Mali Archipelago, 6,000 years ago at the earliest and around 1,000 years ago at the latest, through theories of Aboriginal migration to Taiwan are still hotly debated. The story goes that little black people taught the Sashat to farm by providing seeds and they used to party together. But one day the little black people sexually harassed some Aboriginal women. So the Sashat took revenge and killed them off by cutting a bridge over which they were all crossing. Just 2 little black people survived. Before departing eastward, they taught the Sasiat about their culture and passed down some of their songs, saying they did not remember their people, they would be cursed and their crops would fail. The Sasiat kept their promise and have held the ritual of the little black people every year. Though they scaled down the ceremonies during the Japanese colonial period, 1895 to 1945. Now the ritual is held every 2 years on the 10th full moon of the lunar calendar, with a big festival once every 10 years. At this time, the Sasiat are not supposed to fight and they congregate in their ancestral areas of Miaoli and Sinju in the mountains. I've seen it written as of a celebration, but to me it seems quite a mournful affair, especially in the way the music came across, which was trance-like, a haunting kind of chant with a series of 10 to 15 songs, said long-term Taiwan resident Lynn Miles, who has been in the ritual 3 times and will be going again this year. There's nothing else quite like it in its tone and its mood. I've been to other festivals, but this is non-stop. Right? Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs, Volume 16, Number 1, 1996. From Moors to Moros, the North African Heritage of the Hui Chinese, by Mansour Zhu Xianlong. Introduction. The Moors were a minority in northern Africa during the Middle Ages, while Moro is an appellation applied to the Muslims in the Philippines, and the Hui nationality is a new minority which appeared in China after Yuan dynasty. Except for their common belief in Islam, there seemed little else common between them. During the summer of 1989, while traveling across the 11 provinces of China, I interviewed many Chinese descendants of the East King of Sulu to collect material for my research. At that time, Wen Zuan An, the 16th generation grandson of the East King, who was the chairman of the People's Political Consultative Conference in Gulong area, Kifren, Henan province, revealed to me that our ancestors are Moros of the Philippines, and before they came to the Philippines, they were Moors in Africa. I just smiled in response, and I thought this was only a fantasy like the Arabian Nights. 5 years later, after consulting hundreds of reference books and collecting data relating to this subject, I began to realize the truth in this myth, and instead of treating it as a strange story, I became more and more convinced of its veracity. The origin of Moors. Western scholars have done extensive research on the history of Moors, and on much of this history they are in agreement. Most accounts maintain that the word Moor, Moro in Spanish, coming from Latin Mori and Greek Moros, is an appellation attached to the community or nationality which is formed by the mixed blood of Arabs residing in northern Africa, Spanish Berbers, the African natives, the blacks who practice Islam. These records also state that the term Moor was originally used by the Spanish, implying discrimination to a decree, as Mori in Latin means wilderness and Moros in Greek means black. How did Arabs, Muslims, and Africans come together in Spain to form the Moors community? Historical records indicate that in AD 647, shortly after Islam was established in Arabia and the Muslims faced persecution by local pagans, the Prophet Muhammad advised the Muslims to scatter all over the world. When asked specifically where to go, it is said that Muhammad pointed towards Abyssinia. Thus, many Muslims sought refuge in Abyssinia. Later, Muhammad's successors commanded troops to cross the Red Sea and occupy almost all the territory which belonged to the Berbers, and northern Africa was rapidly Islamized. At the beginning of the 9th century, Muslims reached Spain and established the famous Andalusian civilization. But To the Spanish, Muslim occupation meant shame of subjugation, so they called them Moors and referred to Andalusia as Spain.
Mm.
Right? Next up, in 1920, historian Henry Cordier wrote, China's ancient past is denied both to us and its population. Its grand past is slowly unveiled, similar to how Egypt's was revealed. Later on, one learned of buildings, standing stones, and other monuments that were not mentioned by the Chinese historians as part of their history. The largest country in the world was and is largely there to be discovered. Though accepted as a great civilization, its ancient treasures are barely known. One rumor spoke about pyramids that could be found in desolate areas. One such pyramid was photographed in 1947 by Colonel Maurice Sheehan from a DCS airplane. His story was printed in the New York Times in March of the same year. Sheehan stated it rose about 300 meters, its sides 450 meters long. The next day, the Los Angeles Daily Express ran Sheehan's photograph. But a few days later, the Associated Press received a letter from the authorities of the province of Nankin stating the existence of such pyramids is not backed up by evidence. That press release discredited Sheehan's story, as most authors and researchers believed Sheehan had exaggerated. French author Patrick Ferrin stated, the photographs do not reveal any markings that would allow us to measure the true dimensions. Its height was probably an incorrect estimate. It is probably a burial vault. It definitely looks like one. In 1950s and 60s, the 1950s and 60s had shown the world the existence of many ritual platforms and artificial hills in China, identical to pyramids in appearance except in terminology. Pyramids have a magical appeal to many. Bruce Cathy also became interested in the Chinese pyramids and wrote on the subject in The Bridge to Infinity. Cathy reported that a member of the Chinese embassy had officially informed him there were no such things as pyramids in the Shenxi province. There are a few burial hills, but no pyramids. He knew nothing about the existence of pyramids in China. Right? And that was one of the burial hills that they say exist there. Right?
A burial hill?
Yeah, burial hill.
Okay.
Right?
Burial. This is what they want to call it.
Yeah, right. A letter from Chinese authorities dated November 1st, 1978, addressed to Cathy, stated that the scientists had learned that the so-called quote-unquote pyramids were burial tombs of emperors of the Western Han Dynasty. Records give a different version of the emperors' lives. As the graves have not been scientifically analyzed and no markings were seen on the ground, it is difficult to formulate conclusions. Still, there were historical records that spoke of pyramids. The head of the Xin family, Shi Huangti, the Yellow Emperor, the first to hold that title, changed Chinese society dramatically. He built the Chinese wall upon listening to an oracle that prophesied a barbarian would attack China. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Barbarian would attack
a
China.
barbarian would attack China is why he built the Chinese wall. Right? Which goes right in line with Noble Drew Ali being able to go to Asia, extract certain information, put it into Circle 7 or whatever, and Levi Dowling being able to do that same thing, right? Extract information from there, you know what I mean? Claimed he got it from the Akashic records or whatever, but that the Chinese wall being built at that time was specifically because of the European expansion coming out of the caves and going all over the world, pillaging the place. And they said, okay, you know what? You guys aren't coming over on this side.
Draw a line.
Right?
Yeah.
Draw a line in the sand, or wall in the sand, like Brother Jelani Bey says. Right? By 1794, the emperor had again risen to popularity with the discovery of his subterranean mausoleum. It contained no less than 6,000 terracotta warriors that were stored in combat mode and believed to be intended as protection for the deceased emperor in his new existence. Historian Suma Xian, 135 to 85 BC, wrote that this emperor united China and destroyed all ancient writings as a sign of the new era that was born. Some old books were apparently saved mainly in Taoist temples. Shi Huangti ordered 700,000 people to build him a pyramid at Lintong between Han and Xinan. The Segalen mission, a tour of China that Segalen made in 1913, measured the pyramid's height at 48 meters, encompassing 5 terraces. One side measured 350 meters, 120 meters longer than the side of the Great Pyramid at Giza, Egypt. With 1,960,000 cubic meters, it is fourth largest pyramid in the world. The pyramid at Cholula, Mexico, and the 2 largest pyramids at the Giza Plateau preceded. The emperor possibly died in 210 BC. When his treasures were stored in the pyramids, it was decided the workers would be sealed inside the pyramid so no one could reveal where the pyramid was situated. Plants were planted on its sides so the pyramid would naturally look like an appearance of a natural hill. Susi Xian wrote that the subterranean streams of lead engulfed the pyramid, the ceiling depicted the sky, and the ground showed the expanse of the empire. Crossbows were aimed at trespassers, a burglar alarm which hasn't been successful as General Hao was able to loot the pyramid in 207. So there's the pyramid that he built.
And sealed his workers
inside, so nobody could reveal the secrets of the pyramid. And then built trees and whatever on it to make people think that that's just a hill. Right? And then here's another version of it without the trees and stuff on it. And then what you could do is you can go Google the fabulous 1,000-foot White Pyramid of Xi'an, Xian. So the fabulous 1,000-foot White Pyramid of Xi'an. And then you'll get the story about Captain Bruce Cathy of New Zealand, who basically, was flying a plane or whatever, seen this White Pyramid, and wanted to land his plane but couldn't land his plane into terrain and all this stuff, and he had to just and then here's the Google Images shot of the pyramid, right? And you can see that that's way bigger than
it's huge.
right, than the so-called pyramids that I think these are just what's that, night vision?
Oh right,
whatever,
yeah.
Infrared images or whatever of what they look like, right? Just
This
to
is
show.
what they have in China.
Yeah, in China, right? And then in honor of our Asiatic brothers and sisters, right? We're just gonna touch briefly on Tiananmen Square massacre, since it's the anniversary. You know what I mean? Everybody got half mass around the place, right? So we'll just touch quickly on that, and then we'll go into Brother Morin Bay's second half of class today. So just to put the energy out there, right? Everybody knows already, but just put it out there. The Tiananmen Square protests of 1989, also known as June 4th incident in Chinese, were student-led popular demonstrations in Beijing which took place in the spring of 1989 and received broad support from city residents, exposing deep splits within Chinese political leadership. The protests were forcibly suppressed by hardline leaders who ordered the military to enforce martial law in the country's capital. The crackdown that initiated on June 3rd and 4th became known as Tiananmen Square Massacre or the June 4th Massacre, as troops with assault rifles and tanks inflicted thousands of casualties on unarmed civilians trying to block the military's advance on Tiananmen Square in the heart of Beijing, which student demonstrators had occupied for 7 weeks. The scale of military mobilization and the resulting bloodshed were unprecedented in the history of Beijing, a city with a rich tradition of popular protests in the 20th century. The protests were triggered in 1989 by the death of former Communist Party General Secretary Hu Yaobang, a liberal reformer who was deposed after losing a power struggle with hardliners over the direction of the Chinese economic and political reforms. University students who marched and gathered in Tiananmen Square to mourn Hu also voiced grievances against inflation, limited career prospects, and corruption of the party elite. They called for government accountability, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and the restoration of workers' control over industry. At the height of the protests, about 1 million people assembled in the square. The incident took place near Tiananmen Square, Shang'an Avenue, which runs east-west along the south end of the Forbidden City in Beijing on June 5, 1989, one day after the Chinese government's violent crackdown on Tiananmen protests. The man placed himself alone in the middle of the street as the tanks approached, directly in the path of the armored vehicles. He held 2 shopping bags, one in each hand. As the tanks came to a stop, the man gestured towards the tanks with his bags. In response, the lead tank attempted to drive around the man, but the man repeatedly stepped into the path of the tank in a show of non-violent action. After repeatedly attempting to go around rather than crush the man, the lead tank stopped its engines, and the armored vehicles behind him seemed to follow suit. There was a short pause, with the man and the tanks having reached a quiet, still impasse. Having successfully brought the column to a halt, the man climbed onto the hull of the buttoned-up lead tank, and after briefly stopping at the driver's hatch, appeared in video footage of the incident to call into various ports in the tank's turret. He then climbed atop the turret and seemed to have a short conversation with a crew member at the gunner's hatch. After ending the conversation, the man descended from the tank. The tank commander briefly emerged from his hatch, and the tanks restrained their engines, ready to continue on. At that point, Islam fam, what you saying? At that point, the man who was still standing within a meter or two from the side of the lead tank leapt in front of the vehicle once again and quickly reestablished the man-tank standoff. Video footage shows that 2 figures in blue attire then pulled the man away and disappeared with him into a nearby crowd. The tanks continued on their way. Eyewitnesses disagree with each other about the identity of the people who pulled them aside. Charlie Cole, therefore Newsweek, believed it was Public Security Bureau that pulled him away, while Jan Wong, therefore the Globe and Mail, believes that the man who pulled him away were only concerned local civilians. In April 1989, Time included the unknown rebel in a feature titled Time 100 Most Important People in the Century. Right? And why I want to show honor to this is because of their call for freedom of speech, freedom or whatever, right? So this is what everybody knows. This is what everybody's seeing or whatever, the man standing up in front of the tank and, making this statement.
The non-violent
right?
statement.
Non-violent statement. You know what I mean? Standing up for rights. Like how much people are willing to stand up for rights, stand up in front of a tank, right? Now, this is what they show. Right? This is what they show.
Yeah, this is
But
the
this is the atypical, right? But really what was going on? This is what was really going on. There's the man right down there, right? And that's what he was standing up in front of.
Not one tank or two tanks.
not 3 tanks
Yeah,
or
not 3 or
whatever
4
they show.
Dozen tanks, two
Right?
dozen tanks.
Right? This is why in the article they made the statement of him standing before the column,
Mm.
And it's a column.
the column of
Mm.
tanks, right? And you know, it's just like with during slavery, you know, you have all these slaves or whatever, and one slave master, you guys just roll over this guy and go about your business, right? But why not? Cause the power of national standards, the power of if you do something to a national, you're gonna have problems if you do something to a national. You can't just go do. Let this have been a black guy. They would have just gone,
Yeah.
run over this man. People be crying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. They're so racist, whatever, whatever."
There's a
When
reason they couldn't run him over.
Mm.
reason why they
Yeah.
couldn't run him over.
But more time they would have.
Yeah, like you have all these tanks right here. You're not just gonna run over a man,
That's why we brought the tanks.
right? Like
Yeah.
you guys have protested. Why we have the tanks? Because you're trying to show that you have some power. But what kind of power you have if one man is stopping all these tanks right here?
Yeah.
And not even all these tanks. Like there's all like all up here.
Oh, yeah, that's
You know what I
true.
mean? Like that's all tanks up there too. Right? One. Just one.
One
That's all it takes. One. Right? And one person came and told us that we're not Negro black colored, we're Moors. Right? So we're gonna go from there. Once again, Brother Sheldon Bay, he's gonna present his findings. You know, this is because remember we did, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go on the Canaanland Moors page, and we have German Moors 2013 and beyond, right? So you can go check that out as part 1, and then this is kind of a part 2, you know, just so we can know that everybody knows that we're Moors. It's not no secret, right? Islam.
All right, Islam. So, I have a bunch of images here. A lot of the images I pulled off the internet just.
Actually, I guess why don't I start with a question?
Yeah.
What's it like over there in terms of Moorish? I mean, I understand that there's a lot of
Well,
sort of some of our brothers there, right?
Mm.
There's some community from what I've talked to.
Well,
not
the-
our community
yeah.
possibly, but I know there's a community of so-called blacks or some.
Africans and
Something like that
so-called
there,
Africans.
so-
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Okay. So,
And I'm in Nuremberg,
okay.
which is in Bavaria.
Which is where compared
That's
to.
southeast,
Okay.
the southeast province. There's
Okay.
16 provinces,
Okay.
and there's a huge Moorish influence there. I had
Oh,
no
really?
idea until
Okay.
until Brother Asir told me about it.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I did the first presentation and just presented a whole bunch of images that I took pictures of myself with my camera and
Okay.
stuff. And yeah, and a lot of these, I mean, this right here and this right here is pictures I've taken, and a lot of this is pulled off the internet.
Okay.
But in the first presentation, there was a lot of Moors pharmacies that I saw, and just image of Moors on churches and the bridge.
So basically
And,
related
yeah.
to the fact that probably religion, a lot of based from us,
Mhm.
and medicine,
Right.
right?
Mm.
Pharmacies
Right,
and
yeah,
churches,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah.
So these images now that I found were Moors hotels and Moors hotels. But not only in Germany, but in Switzerland and other places.
Related to
So
the fact that Moors probably traveled a lot.
Right.
Right?
So you need
Yeah.
somewhere to.
Stay,
And
right?
established
And you'd
some
want your own
places,
spot,
okay.
right?
Right.
So these right here I pulled from the internet. There's a couple of pictures I've taken, and I'll let you know which ones those are. Okay, so this is 3 Moors Hotel.
That's the name of it.
That Drei,
Right. Yeah. I see
Drei
that,
is
yeah.
3,
Drei is 3.
Mohren is Moors, and Hotel is Hotel.
Okay.
And that's in Augsburg, Germany.
And the 3 gold.
And
figures there?
those 3,
Sconces.
yeah, those 3 little
Wall things?
wall things, statues, those are 3 Moors. I took a I downloaded a picture from the internet, but unfortunately, printing it out, it only printed out the one. But
Is that what that head is?
yeah, that's what's. This is actually, I think, on the inside. So they duplicated and made it smaller on the inside of the hotel.
Right.
But these are the images that's on the outside of the hotel. All right. I'll get to this later. All right. Here's another one. This is Two Moors Hotel, and this one is in Denmark.
It's called the Two Moors.
Two Moors. Zwei
Must have
Mohren.
cut out the other one.
That's Zwei. It says Zwei Mohren, and it's in Denmark.
Something got shifty.
Klingenberg, Denmark. And I had no idea that they had these hotels in Denmark. And right up, my finger's weird. Right up there. Right there, that's where it says Zwei Mohren. So. This one is really extravagant, and it's in Germany somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it is, but this is another Moors hotel.
It's like a castle.
Yeah,
That's what we should say.
in Germany.
Jack the Castle, make it a hotel.
You know? And staying with that, this is Hotel Mohren in Switzerland.
I'm just thinking, you know what? Part of the issue is
And there's the logo right over here. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
I got a close-up of it. Right. Right there.
Yeah. That's messed up.
That's in Switzerland.
This one in Switzerland.
This one's in Switzerland.
Right, so it's clear that you can just Google Moors whatever.
Google Moors hotels. You'll
just
get
Google Moors whatever, and stuff will just
Yeah.
come up.
Yeah.
Right.
You may not need to put it in German, I guess, but Moors hotels, Mohren hotels. This one is in Austria, in Salzburg, Austria. Another Moors hotel, Zum Mohren hotel. You see up there. And on the inside, this is the dining area on the inside. So it's really elaborate and lavish on the inside.
There's a 10-star. 10-star.
7-star.
Yeah. This is crazy.
This is Mohren and Palavina Hotel in Italy.
You know, Italy's repping.
Yeah. That's huge. And that's just one building. There's another building on the side of it too, so it's massive. And this one is Ring Hotel Mohren in Oschenhausen, Germany.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
What are the dates of some of these hotels in terms
When
of
they were
their,
built?
Like, yeah, in terms of their.
I'm not.
The
That
name
is not
probably
sure.
will tell you.
What do you mean?
I'm-
by that?
Just the name alone will tell you.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
no,
That's
I'm just
no. That's
getting, you know, I'm wondering-
Hilton.
that.
no, I know.
Honestly,
I'm
I'm
just wondering whether this is like 1,500 or whether
Well-
this is 1,000 or.
well.
I mean,
I
obviously-
would think honestly. I would think it's anywhere from
Probably can't be
1400s on.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was looking at the Moors pharmacies and stuff, the one in my hometown was at 1442.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
so
That picture you brought in the first time.
yeah.
Pharmacy,
Sorry.
This one here is the Two Moors house, and this is in Hungary. Now it just says Two Moors house. I don't know if it's a hotel or whatever. I was trying to get some more information on it. It was kind of difficult. Somebody took a picture on their trip somewhere, and yeah, Two Moors house in Hungary. So, all right. Now, going back to my first lecture, remember I showed there was the Moors beer company in Austria.
This one?
What a bit.
Yeah. So this is them celebrating. This was New Year's, and they were celebrating. The new year. One more year of the company. You see the logo in the background. You see the logo down here, and you see the logo right here. Big Morse head.
What's the name of this beer?
Mohren.
Mohan.
That's what it is. Mohren Brau. Moors brew. Now, companies in Europe, they sponsor football or soccer teams. Well, here, Mohren sponsors this soccer team. As you can see the logo on their soccer jersey. And it's a quote-unquote blackhead with a lips and afro and all kind of thing. And here's another image of that. Take that. Right. Next up is in Coburg, Germany. They have manhole covers on the street, and this is of Saint Moritz. Saint Moritz was the Moor in the Roman the Roman military, the Christian Moor that spared the lives of the Christians when he was going through, and he's actually all over Coburg. I remember when I did my first presentation, the Moors Pharmacy in Coburg had his head on it. There's a high school that's called Moritz High School, and it has his head on it as a logo as well. So that's a manhole cover. That's pulled off the internet. I'll go to Coburg at some point and take some pictures.
Who does this stuff? Make a
That's-
manhole cover with a Moor head on it.
That's just love for that's just love.
Somebody
Yeah, you gotta
know.
figure
That's just
that
love
I
for
don't-
Moors,
I'm
man.
paying-
You know?
Paying my respect in every way.
Yeah.
From the sewer
Holy.
to the penthouse.
Yeah.
Oh, but you remember, you got to think about this, right? If they were involved in the Renaissance,
Right.
which is bringing them out of the sewage and all the garbage,
For real, they
Right.
would be on the man
so he would be involved in probably bringing
Straight.
them out
straight.
of
Darkness.
right? Because remember, they
Yeah.
were pigs, right? Or so
Right.
they were living like pigs, so they were saying, right?
This is the interior of another Moors hotel. I forgot exactly where it is, but there's a statue in the background of the Moor. Also in Germany. Yeah, you don't need to see that though. Maybe I'll show that.
We got time.
Grand Sheik, a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe a month or two ago, in one of the lectures, in one of the classes, he showed, he was talking about statues that they have in Germany, and there was like a series of maybe, 10, 15 statues, and only 6 were left.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he was talking about that, literally the day before I downloaded this off the internet, and these are the statues,
The 6 that are left.
the 6 that are left, and that's the Moor in the middle. There's even one with,
They're all Moors, though, right?
well, yeah, this one says, woman's hat, the prophet's down here, but the dark skin is classified as the Moor. So, and this is the case that it's in. With the Habsburg logo in the middle, family crest in the middle. Let's see that. Let's see that. Okay. Moving along. Seems like they use a lot of Moors with chocolate and stuff like that. So here is like full Vollmilch, full milk, like 4% milk bonbons, with mit Kakao gefüllt, filled with chocolate. And you see he has a little dashiki and the fez on. So, only thing missing is the tassel.
But this is a chocolate.
That's a chocolate. And here's an old cocoa, Moors cocoa. Almoren. Aktiengesellschaft. Yeah, they're just talking about it. Garantiert rein. Yep. So this is an old one. Not sure what year this is from, but they even actually have Al Moor, like Al Moroccan, which is interesting. But you can see on the box they have the crescent moon, and it says Moor up there. And they have the Moor here with the turban. So, yeah. And this right here is really interesting because I studied design and we have design history, and I've never seen this poster like this. And this looks like a poster from I can't remember what year. I think the 1600s or something. I can't remember what year. But anyways, selling more soap. Kaufen Sie Mohren Seifen means buy more soap. That's what that means. And you have this European woman giving a Moor some soap, or maybe taking it from the Moor. So he just sold it to her, I guess. Buy more soap. It's good for your skin.
What's funny is the imagery is he's sparkling if you see his face.
Yeah, yeah.
He used the soap.
He used the soap.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's obviously a
It
reason.
wasn't her soap. It was his soap.
All right. So this part here is what I've taken with my own camera, and this is some really cool stuff that I found. I went to Berlin earlier this year because I had to go there for some work to meet a client. And on the subway map, there's Mohrenstraße, which is Moor Street, and it's a subway station. So took a picture of it's on the red and orange line. So I took a picture of it in the subway, and here it is down there. Let's see if you can see that. I took a close-up of it, but you see it right there. And yeah, here's a close-up right there, Mohrenstraße, and that's the subway. That's the name on the subway wall there.
More stuff?
Mohrenstraße, Moor Street, yeah, Straße Street. And for those who knows Berlin, you know where Potsdamer Platz is, and that's a major spot too. So now here's when you come out the metro, get off the train, they have like maps of the area and what's around the surrounding area. So I took a picture of this because surrounding Moor Street, there's all these government buildings. And for some, that may not mean anything, but for people that know about urban planning, like they plan out everything and what street goes where and stuff according to.
Why would you put government?
Yeah, why would you put government around Moor Street?
On Moor Street.
So let's see. Let's see if you guys can see it. Up here. Okay, so Moor Street is right here. Let's move that over. Right here. That's Moor Street right there. Up there where my finger is the Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety. Right here. Oh, I can't read that. Something to do with Hamburg. Right here is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and North Korea. Right here. Here is Czech Republic building, right there. This is the Federal Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, right here. That building right there. And here's a elementary school as well. So that's just a close-up. If you see here, it's a lot, there's a lot more buildings and stuff. So why would they have all those super important buildings around Moore Street? So that's the question. So there's that. Now when you get out of the station,
Moore Street Station.
get out Moore Street Station, they have a little, say like, I don't want to say roundabout, but there's like a little area that you walk, and they have statues and of important people. So,
It's like a plaza, something. A plaza
so
almost, right?
let me show you what I found. Now, if you want to bypass the whole Masonic ritual of if the statue is dark, it's a Moor, you can bypass that if you want and question that. But this is what I found here. And this statue was this statue was in the middle of the walkthrough. So here is the subway station, Mohrs, you see it, right? And you have statues. This guy here is Jacob von Keith, and he was a general field marshal. Okay.
So you're saying
A
that
field
there is a trend that any of the dark statues they would be Moors.
Yeah.
Right.
Supposedly that's the Masonic.
That's the code.
That's the Masonic code that a lot of people don't know. So even if that's not true, you bypass that. All right. Wait, I got something to show you. So that's
Because there's a couple statues around here of people that I know that are Greek, but I'm wondering whether they're trying to feed off of that.
right.
Feed off of that energy still. Whether right, they're not truly Moor in terms of their skin color, but they're wanting to feed off of that.
But
energy.
they could also be like, if it's Greek, they could also be amalgamated Moors.
Right. There you
So
go. Okay, so there
you know what I mean. So there you go. So this is a general field marshal. All right. That's one image that I saw. That's one statue that I saw. This one here, which is kind of dark, but I'll show it anyways. This is Friedrich Wilhelm von Seidlich. Okay, and it says General, Cavalier General. Okay, it's dark as well. So there's that one.
Who's that? General.
That's Cavalier General. It says General de Cavalier, so it's Cavalier General. Then this one is Kurt Christoph Graf von Schwerin. Don't know where that is. And he is a general field marshal as well. So he has the flag, and he's doing his thing. He has a sword. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is all on the little walk area of Moore Street in Berlin. And this is Hans Karl von Winterfeld, and he is General Lieutenant. Okay. Okay. So the last one, to me, is the most interesting. But first, I'm going to show you, that's kind of like the area that you see. You see statue there, and it goes further back. All back there you see statues. Now this is General von Zieten, and this is supposedly this. What I understand is this: all these people were in his cavalier, so he was the head of the cavalry. So he was the general of the cavalry. And check him out. What do you see? Fez, feather. Here's get a close up of his face. So he has a fez and a feather, right? Posing. This side shot, you can see the tassels right here. Okay. And he has the cape and the Shivatar sword. Now, I actually Googled him and I Googled him and I got a little bit of information on Wikipedia from him. I know Wikipedia is not the best sources, but you know, here's another close-up of him. And this was before Germany was formed, obviously, so this was in, he's from 1699 to 1786, and was a cavalry general in the Peruvian army. And he served in numerous wars and battles, and during the reign of Frederick the Great. So I found it really interesting, and these are pictures I took with my own camera. And I find it really interesting on Moor Street, you have a Moor with the fez, with the feather, with the tassels, with the cape, and with the Shivatar. So it doesn't get any more clear than that. And when you Wikipedia him, you can tell that he was amalgamated Moor, like he was a light-skinned Moor. And he had the leopard cape and everything on, so. And yeah, that is.
This is a subway train?
That's a subway train. That's one line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the close-ups over there.
And the close-up of
Yeah.
yeah. So that's well, actually, there's more if you want to see more, but that's it for the German side. And German and the Portugal stuff is next time, right?
No, we still got 15 minutes.
Oh, or do you want
Yeah.
to
We got 15
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
We got 15 minutes. Get in where you could get in.
Okay. Okay. These images that I took is with my own camera. I went to the Moors Castle in Sintra, in Portugal. In February, I had a trip there, and I said on the weekend, because I had to go there for a business trip, and on the weekend, I said I'm driving down there, I had to see it. So this is pretty much what it looks like, and these are the different pamphlets that they give you when you get there. So this one is Spanish, I believe. That's Spanish, right? Spanish flag? Yeah, this is Spanish flag. Castillo de los Moros. And this is like a map. And I got it in Spanish. I got it in French. Chateau des Moros. So you know, I got it in. This is Portugal, yeah. Portuguese.
Same thing.
And in German, I got it in German, but it's interesting. They spelt it different. It wasn't Mohren. It's Mauren. So that's another way of spelling it, and that's in German. And I got it in English too, but that's for cheap.
The picture, the man about earrings from a long time. Did he wear both earrings or just one?
I think
that
it
would've
was
been
both. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause you know it's
But
interesting.
hoops, no
Yeah,
studs.
some big ones, like,
No studs.
like,
That little harkens back to the
like,
pirates that they used to make.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pirate
right,
scenes
right. The
with
parents
two-
with the two, yeah, the
Okay.
hoops, yeah.
300.
Actually.
Was that movie 300?
With the-
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
When they
The
kick the
dude-
man off the thing?
The
Yeah.
man, the bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Persian king, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man looked like Dawson.
yeah, yeah,
Street
yeah,
Fighter.
yeah.
Okay, so let me put these in order. I want to show you some pictures when I was trying to take pictures of the street signs when I was driving. Don't try that at home. Because that was a little bit
Yo,
crazy.
that's
But
some bad boy pose.
you know what I'm saying? Like he's just
Yo, the man's like, did it.
all right.
B-boy
So
stands.
here is me taking a picture of the sign when I was driving. I don't know if you see it, but it says Sintra up there. And there's actually a river of the Moors in Sintra called Rio des Moros. And I tried to take a picture of that too while I was driving, and that was difficult. But, anyways. So, here's a picture of me in front of the sign when I got to the area. Lisboa on this side is Lisbon. So that, you know. But right above that, there, Castillo des Moros, that's Castle of the Moors, and they're showing you directions. So it's really high up. Yeah. So if you get this perspective, you're down in town, and it's all the way up there. And when I tell you it's high up, it's really high, and it's windy up there. Like I tried to take a picture of myself, and I took a picture of myself up there. It was just, I was scared, man. It felt like I was gonna blow off the area. But that castle is a military castle. It's a military area. So, all right. So, this is, yeah, here it is. Here's the other one. Here's the other highway one. But this says Sintra on it. So this is the map of the region. Actually, when you get up to the area, you have this little map that you follow. And you know, here's a little close up. Oh, just send that this way. There's a close up. And there's the castle of the Moorish castle. And yeah, it was believed to be built in the 1900s, but then was bought by forgot her name. It's a queen. I have it written down somewhere. I'll read it to y'all. This picture of me by the sign. Moros. Or Moros. It's a huge area, man. It's big.
So the castle's like a tourist.
Yeah, it's tourist
site
now. Okay, so yeah, it says
Castle
here.
or something?
Yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, this is the sign outside the gate. Right here. So this is the gate going to the military fort. Right here. And it's eroded, and there's some areas that they're refurbishing and trying to build back up and stuff. But it's a military fort believed to date back to the 9th century and the period of the Arab occupation, Moors occupation. And it served as an excellent observation post for monitoring the coastline. It's so high up. So that's the sign. It's in front of the gate. So here is the image. A couple of images of it. Yeah, and it was a very, very windy day. I don't know if it's always windy like that up there, but it's really, really high up.
So Garvey was there with you.
Yeah, man. So you see it, and all those places are just lookout posts. All right, so here's a shot from the higher part, like you saw along the wall that went up higher on the other images. This is a shot from higher up, and you can see the lower part here, and then you see the wall coming this way. But when I tell you it's high, and you see everything. And I have to admit, that's the beauty of living in Europe, man, because it's not expensive to fly to these places. You know.
Yeah, you can just drive, can't you?
Well, not to Portugal, but they have like Ryanair and it's cheap flights. You know, you can book it for like 50 euros.
Yeah, 50 euros.
50 euros. Yeah, if you fly
How long is the
Ryanair.
flight? No, those flights ain't long.
2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah.
Montreal, Calgary.
For real.
Before.
Yeah.
Lookout post. Like I remember, I went to Croatia.
This is just one castle. Eh?
Yeah. It's a military fort and it's huge. It's just, but then there's another area that's like a palace, and that's a lot more recent. But it's just massive. This is me attempting to take a picture, and you see my face. That's letting you know how windy it is up there, and how I was gripping the camera for dear life that it didn't blow out of my hand. Like,
So you just take stairs up to this?
yeah, it's a path you walk up, and then after.
It's high still. Up
Yeah,
there.
man. Yeah, and then you walk along the wall, and
Mhm.
and the small pillars are pretty much up to your waist. And yeah, you just walk up, man. And I saw some people just like running up, and I'm just like holding on, you know, like, man. Yeah, so yeah, and all along the path and stuff, there's signs that explain, you know, about the area and stuff like that. See this one?
Yeah, this is military for real.
Yeah.
Because the view you get from it, you get the terrain. So
Yep. This is the Royal Tower, the village of Caseas, which can be seen from the top of the tower, belongs to Sintra until the 14th century. It is said that every year a big fire was set on top of the tower so that the Caseas population remembered that the Moorish castle was there to protect them. So it wasn't occupation type of thing, it was protection. So yeah, those are the images from that, and a couple more different images that I took in a church. I was in what's the name of the place again? In Germany, not Mosbach. I'll remember the name. Yeah, and just some images. There was a tour. I went to this one church, and they had this astrological clock. It was really, really beautiful. And obviously, Moorish design. And there was a tour guide there. And it was funny because I was listening to what he was saying. And he's saying, yeah, that's just a clock to measure the time and you know, and the months or whatever. And I'm like, but you see, like, there's astrology, there's like the Scorpion, there's, you know, Leo, and all that stuff. So clearly it's astrology, but they're just saying it's like a clock.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't give away too much.
Yeah.
Measure time.
And where was this again?
This is in Germany in
No, but you're saying it's in a church.
yeah, this is in a church in
No, it doesn't matter.
city
I'm
begins
just
with an M.
saying that that's obviously very
Yeah.
indicative of the connection with the church and
All
And-
makes sense.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah. And in that same church, there is Moorish figurines, statues. I didn't break down what it says in Latin because I wasn't really planning to show these images, but but you know, and that's the base of the statue. If y'all wanna check that out and see what it means in Latin, there you go. And I also found what was interesting too is with this, there's so many family crests and stuff in the church, like images and you know, built into the walls and stuff. And well, this is just a image that I saw. It's not very clear, but the reason why I took this picture is up here. They have the pyramid and the all-seeing eye, and I found that interesting to be in a church. And there's clouds behind it,
It's more
and
like
there's
the obelisk that they have
Yeah.
in Washington, right? With the eye, is it like it's thin, right? Isn't that what that is?
yeah, it's triangle, and then the all-seeing eye in the middle, and then there's like a cloud behind it, and all these rays. I took a little close-up of it. It's not very clear, but you can get the gist of it. Here's a close-up. So, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the images. The more I find, you know, the more exploring I do, because I'm looking everywhere, and I want to go to Italy, to the south, and see what's
gonna be
there.
huge there.
Yeah,
No, man.
you know.
Although you never
Yeah.
know, they'll probably have done their duty
So-
with trying to cover it up
Yeah.
too, right?
Well, that's the thing that we realize. Like when we even when they talk about, we read it somewhere, you know. I think in the Chinese, when they're talking about the China pyramids, and they were talking about, you know, hiding the history of Egypt and whatever like that. You know what I mean? It's like if it's related to the Moors, they kind of let it, you know, slide because they know that we have no intention of going to go look for this stuff. You know what I mean?
In
It's,
terms of
it's
what
not a
you-
threat. Like,
mean
you know,
they
us
leave it
finding
there?
out. Yeah, they leave it. Because we're not researching the Moors. We're researching black stuff and
Well, as
African
well as you gotta
stuff.
imagine,
And,
still, no matter what, to them, at the end of the day, this is the basis of their history.
right,
Right.
So to destroy that
To
would be to
destroy
destroy
themselves.
themselves. So they can't do it.
right,
But what they've done is they've done a great job of dumbing us down,
right. So we don't
so we don't even know.
get the Moors out of your mind and you defeat the Moors. You know?
Plus, they can't erase it because it's what they came from. Right? So
I don't think.
But-
I don't think. You know, only a small-minded amount of people are just on this trying to keep it from us or whatever, whoever us may
Keep some of
be.
these.
But for the
No,
most
I got
part,
you sent the thing right.
I feel like
Yeah.
enough people are
Okay.
tired of the BS and they're waiting for us to get back to our
But the
right
mute
mind.
the other stuff.
Because everybody's suffering.
Well, I think-
Only a small amount of people is really gaining or whatever you want to call it as gaining. But majority of people want.
well, I think that's because I think it's like sort of like to me it's like the Dark Ages. At this point, they can't further themselves
Yeah,
because they've got nothing to further.
nothing to go to work.
Right? They've taken everything we had, they've abused it, they've used it,
Yeah,
Remixed it, whatever.
remixed it, done whatever. But until they let us back out
yeah.
again, they can't go any further.
But it's not letting us.
Not let us back out.
It's us.
Yeah, but in a sense it is because what they chained us down. Well, not they chained us down. They did something to make sure to suppress us, right? Or whatever. They've done that for a period of time through religion and Christianity,
Yeah.
and now they realize that they're at the end.
Yeah,
Right? And that's almost in an astrological sense. The,
Yeah,
the next
they're at
time, the next
They're
time
at the end
gate.
in every
We're at
sense.
Aquarius.
They're at the end. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
at Aquarius now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they're done, and now the gate's starting again.
What is their Aquarius era?
The era
I
of
know.
knowledge, isn't it?
I
So the nobody,
Yeah.
you can't be saying, yo, I didn't know. That doesn't
Yeah.
cut it no more.
Right.
Nobody could come to me and say, I did not know. I'll slap you.
But you see what I
Like my
think?
daughter.
I think it was like what Taj said. It's about having their arms and feet everywhere. At
Yeah.
the end of the
Mhm.
day, what they've done is they've sort of screwed themselves
Yeah.
because by keeping us down, they can't now. It's going to be hard for them to initiate that engine again
Mhm.
without admitting
Yeah.
that they have. So it's sort of like they just got to leave stuff and hope that we pick it up and
But
start running with it, right? But we've now, I think we've adopted too much of that mentality, and that's been our problem overall, right?
I think that's why enough of the biblical stories sometimes become so relevant as someone, because I remember the story of Joseph, how his brothers and sisters dissed him and sold him out.
Right.
And in the end, he's still like, yo, that's up. Yo, you guys want food? I still look after you.
That's right.
And that's what we need to get back, where
That's
we're
right.
like, yo, don't worry. I'm not
Right.
going to box in your face. I know what you did.
Right.
Everything's blessed. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, I want, you're
'Cause
absolutely
it's
100%. Yeah.
Like, if I know I did something wrong to you and I know you're powerful and all that,
Yeah,
you're not going to
gonna-
come out and be like, yo.
That's right. Because you're afraid somewhat of our action. I think we were
Yeah, that's
talking
what
about
it
this
is.
before, or maybe on the last video or something, saying that we really just want to fight. At the end of the day, we
And
just
that's
want to
why
get out there.
more times when you walk into a room with certain people, you feel incumbent to kind of smile, let them know, hey, it's okay, I'm not here to bust
Yeah,
your
that's
ass.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, because you know why? No, but you know why? Because I think there's ultimately a sense of guilt
Of
that
course,
they have, right?
of course.
Yeah.
Guiltiness rests on their conscience.
But what I find is like, at least in Germany, like Moor is Moor. There's no Arab, there's no Turk. It's just Moor is
But I sense, you know,
which
I sense,
is really interesting.
I
And
sense
then
with
everywhere
the
else
Germans,
you get.
though, they're a little more advanced in certain ways for some reason or something. I don't know why I get. Huh?
What did you say?
I feel that the Germans, for whatever reason, in their sort of the way they socialize, they're more advanced. That's what I've sensed, right? Sort of more, they're more open about it in certain ways. You know, like my ex-girlfriend was telling me, "Oh, Portugal, the Moors. Now that you're piecing this all together, it's all there, right?" But Portuguese, they're some of the most racist people I've encountered in my time growing up.
It's like we were,
But
we
is
were
it
at a
racism?
conference.
Well, I sort of interpreted it as racism back
Yeah.
then. I mean, when I was being
Oh,
called
is it-
Muli,
oh,
which I now
yeah.
realize was thing,
Yeah.
or
Or you
what-
just calling yourself black and they're looking at you and it's like, you're retarded. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. No, but I
Okay, you
remember
come
this.
back, okay,
But
you
I
stay
remember
black.
this.
You stay black.
I wasn't calling myself anything. I was just trying to be with them and the look. You can get a feel when you're growing up how people are treating you.
Yeah,
Right?
perception.
But it's
Yeah.
liturgy at the end of the day, like Taj said, liturgy. Because you don't know. You remember what the stuff that was coming out of your mouth those days? If you stuff that's coming out of your mouth now, if you're saying it dead, trust me, they won't. I don't feel they would look at you a certain way, because you know what I mean.
No, but I sense that they did a job of trying to separate. Because I really felt there was ignorance back then. Because I lived in a very heavily European neighborhood with Italians
Same
and
here.
Portuguese.
I lived at Baptist of Queen. That's when I landed.
Okay, so
here. I
so
landed
then
at
you know.
Baptist of Queen.
So I think you know what I'm
You know
talking
where?
about,
You know
right?
what school I went to? I went to a school called St. Mary's. And you know what the name of the street was on? It's called Portugal Square.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah,
So you must have gone through what the same sort of
That's
stuff.
when I was driving.
Maybe
here.
I was
so
going through.
I'm
Passed by
aware of
Moorish
those
Street.
things.
Right.
I don't remember the video
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
But maybe that was because they were closer. They were much more associated with us than places like Germany, maybe, or there was
Yeah,
a
they
greater
are.
fear, so they had to keep that separation,
But
right? Because as I
Well,
said,
and
talking to,
also too, it's different. Like another thing to consider is the Moors bumped into European nations, if you will, in different times of Moorish rule.
right?
So when you have Germans bumping into Moors, and it's reverence.
Right.
And then by the time you get to British or whatever, they're passing
to kill-
edicts.
to kill us.
Don't
Yeah,
call
yeah.
them don't call them Moors or whatever. Because of the different batches of Moors that
socioeconomic time
Yeah,
or
just-
something was going on. Right?
any and everything.
Politics.
Any and everything.
I wanted to say this to everybody listening. If you go on YouTube and type in, I guess I have to spell it out, Schwarzfahrer, which means illegal rider. That's SCHWARZFAHRER. Type that in, you're going to get a video. There's one that's 12 minutes long, 11 minutes long, whatever. And it's this private video that this guy made, like a miniature movie. And it's about this Moor who gets on the tram in Germany, and he sits next to a racist German woman, and he
You were
asks,
telling us the story
I
before,
was
right?
telling you the story,
Sorry, go ahead.
and he goes up to her and he asks, "Is the seat free?" And she looks at him and doesn't say anything. So he sits down, and then she starts complaining, "Oh, the Africans are coming, and the Turkish people this, and the Italian people that, and blah 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 blah." blah. And And he's eating a bag of chips and he's just listening to her and not saying anything. And then the controller, the people that come on to see if you have a ticket, that you bought a ticket to ride the train, comes on, the conductor comes on, and he says, you know, tickets please. And so she hears that and she reaches in her bag and pulls out her ticket. And the Moor sitting next to her grabs the ticket out of her hand and eats it. You know? And so the controller comes and says, your ticket please. And she looks at him and says, the nigger next to me ate it. And he's like, and everybody's looking at her like, you know, and then the Moor's just like this, and he pulls out his ticket, and then the conductor says like, that's the most craziest thing I've ever heard. Come off, and then she gets fined.
That's funny.
And what they did was, that was on TV. They made a shorter commercial of that for the Schwarzfahrer, you know, and that was a term for illegal riding. And then eventually they stopped using that term because black people started complaining that Schwarz is racist and this and that and so on and so forth, you know. So I'm racing through. Do we have time for like 2 more images real quick? I wanted to show this as an ending thing. This is one of my brethrens in Germany, and he had this T-shirt years ago, and it's only like in the last year I clicked to show this, and I took a picture of him here. This T-shirt, look what it says: slave, nigger, colored, crossed out, Negro, crossed out, black, crossed out, African American, and then underneath it says, what's next? And he told me that a Moor, I don't know if it's a conscious or unconscious Moor, met him on the basketball court and he was wearing this T-shirt, and he asked him where he got it, and the Moor said he made it. So my brethren asked, can you make me one? And he made him one. And I think that it's just so relevant, man. Like when I got onto the Moorish knowledge and I remembered this T-shirt, I'm like, it's so relevant. And the fact that it says what's next on it, that to me says it all right there.
And also too, keep in mind, right? Because this is a good 360, right? Finish where we started off, right? African is synonymous with Moor, so the shirt's really saying Moorish American,
Right.
ultimately, and that's where we're at and where we're supposed to be. Well, yo, give thanks. We had a good one tonight, as usual.
Yeah, that's calm.
You know?
So you got,
You know?
That's
so you
that's
ready for
one.
what?
Yeah. I have one that just says I am not black.
yeah. We got some orders for those. We got some orders for those ones. Right. So we'll just close out with the prayer. Islam to all the Moors online. Islam to Brother Morin Bay for making his staple again, once again. You know what I mean? Repping it. And don't forget to check out all the classes, Canaanland Moors, on YouTube, as well the website, canaanlandmoors.webs.com. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Noble Jew Ali. Islam. Peace. Good way to end with 7 viewers. Good job, Moors.